Deputy Foreign Minister Sharren, thank you so much for being with us. I think I want to start just with an open question. Tell us what you have been doing in your position as Deputy Foreign Minister. What's been the focus of your activities, and what have been the achievements that you're proudest of?
Wow. Since the beginning of the war, I've done so many interviews at the international channels, just to tell the world about what we've been experiencing and what had happened here in Israel. Just a few weeks after the 7th of October, there was a mass denial already starting with different influencers and social media. And so it was important someone who's capable of telling Israel's side of the story. And since I entered the foreign ministry, I had the opportunity to continue to do that, but with a much louder speaker, and to work out together with the foreign minister, Gideon Sa'ar, in building more bridges and strengthening Israel's ties around the world. I think that our work, especially through the public diplomacy, had quite a few achievements, many achievements. We've started, for example, weekly briefing with foreign press, because also when we've entered, many foreign media outlets that were here in Israel said that that happened so rare, and they were sort of looking around, asking different questions. And so I spoke to the foreign minister, and he approved to build once a week a foreign media press conference. And so you're starting to take more control about not just what's being told in foreign media, but also the narrative. And you have the opportunity to dismantle a lot of the propaganda that Hamas used to spread around. Another thing that we've done was to put more technological equipment and software in order to see how we can monitor better Israel's reputation in the media and in social media. And we've purchased, for example, an AI software that monitors the main channels in the main countries so that we get a red flag whenever, a story breaks about Israel, whether we need to comment on it, whether it is a complete lie so that we can dismantle it, which is extremely important. Inside everything, the whole program that was built by the foreign minister, Gideon Sa'ar, and by our incredible teams in the foreign ministry, in regards to public diplomacy, for me personally, I wanted to take more responsibility in Africa. That was very important.
Is Africa important to you? And why is it important to Israel?
So I think that Africa is a continent where the same trends that had happened in the Middle East are happening there right now. They're in danger, in serious danger.
Of what?
Radical Islamist organization who are seeking to take over the continent. And you see them in the Sahel area with Hezbollah and ISIS and Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, all of these monstrous organizations who are massacring, executing, raping, burning people alive. You see what they're doing in Somalia, where the Houthis are pushing them, and if Somalia will have a major effects on the economy, on fisheries, on maritime, sea travel routes and goods that are passing through there, and Iran infiltrating into the continent. You see them literally.
Are you working with the government in Somalia?
So, look, we have relationships with almost every government on the continent.
Including the government in Somalia?
So there's been certain communication, I would say so. okay? I think that the situation there is extremely dangerous. And I think it will affect the rest of the world. And when you see such a hostile takeover by radical extremist jihadist organization, you know, it will have a huge impact on the entire world.
Have you had communications with counterparts in Somalia?
No. I'll say there's been certain communications, okay? And as our government have been keeping communications with almost every country in Africa. But it's far bigger than just a conflict in Somalia.
Right, but Somalia is, of course, and as you said yourself, Deputy Minister, an important country, and this is an important issue. Has the Somali government approached the Israeli government for help, or the Israeli intelligence services for help?
Look, as I said, there's been certain communication, as there have been in almost every country in Africa. It's not just there. Look on what's happening in Sudan and the effect of Sudan on the rest of the continent. Look on
Has the Sudanese government been in touch with Israel and asked for help?
Well, there's been communications with the government as much as there's been communications with many countries in Africa. And I'll keep it, open like that.
I want to also ask you something else about Israeli foreign policy in general. Have statements by government ministers like Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, have their statements hurt Israel diplomatically?
Look, it's been challenging. But if you ask me, were they more damaging than the statements that former prime ministers stated, like Ehud Barak and Ehud Olmert?
But they're not serving ministers.
I know, but their damage was far bigger than even of what the damage that was caused by some of these statements.
Smotrich is in the job. Ben-Gvir is in the job. They're seen abroad as representing you, as representing the government.
Look, it's very easy for me to deal with it. And I'll tell you what, because, and this is something that in many cases outside is not understood. If you go to the British government, everybody speaks in one voice. It's different here in Israel. Every single minister have their own opinion and voice their own opinion. The person that executes it and dictates it is the prime minister, but they are entitled to their opinion. And here in Israel, they speak it out, and it's okay. But at the end of the day, many of their statements wasn't the official policy of Israel. While former prime ministers, when I'm being confronted with some of the things that whether Ehud Barak or Ehud Olmert have said, I'm being confronted with allegations of genocide that our IDF soldiers are not conducting in the most honorable way. And the Israeli IDF has met a level of threshold of integrity, of humanity, like no other army. And when they saying that as former prime minister and spreading blood libels and lies and fabrications about Israel and about the IDF, it's far harder to counter that. So the damage that they've created is far worse than any statement that those ministers have said.
Move on from foreign policy to issues of the day. First of all, I wish your legs well. You just finished a 90-kilometer, 3-day. For our viewers in the United States, about 55 or 60 miles in 3 days. You walked from your home in Kfar Saba to Jerusalem to protest the bill about drafting Haredi ultra-Orthodox yeshiva students into the army. But I want to ask you something very specific about that issue, because the day Prime Minister Netanyahu put in his request for a pardon from President Herzog, you said in the media that the public is talking about that, the issue of the pardon, instead of talking about this, the issue of the draft law. Deputy Minister, has the opposition been screwing up its election campaign, meaning the opposition spending its time talking about which commission is going to investigate October 7th, Netanyahu's pardon, and 1,001 other issues, when they have an issue in their hand that is a wedge issue that divides the Israeli right, that could bring them to power? Is the Israeli opposition missing a huge political opportunity?
Look, I'm not dealing or advising the opposition, because my goal is not to dismantle the government. That should be their goal, not mine.
But you're opposing the government on a key issue of importance to it.
Well,
and you're a deputy minister.
One of the key partners in this coalition is pressing so hard on the prime minister to pass this bill that is bad news for Israel's future, that is endangering Israel's security, that is dividing our people. It's the wrong decision. And in politics, when they are pressuring him to the left, I will pressure him to the right.
Are there, beyond those who have come out publicly either against the bill or skeptical of the bill, are there other members of Knesset, members of the Israeli parliament, who are whispering in your ear that they secretly agree with you?
Yeah,
how many? How many have whispered in your ear?
Some secretly and some more publicly. I know right now about 6 parliament members who actually oppose the bill, which means he doesn't have a majority. Since we've started discussions, because it's becoming more and more danger and more of what I would call a bluff.
How many more have whispered in your ear that we haven't heard about?
I think that there are 14 members who feel uncomfortable with voting in favor of this bill.
Are you trying to encourage them to join you?
Well, I'm encouraging them to oppose it so that they don't bring this bill out. There's many.
Have you made any progress? Do you think some of them will ultimately come around to your side?
Well, I don't know. I know that in order to keep the majority, there's a need for 7 or 8 parliament members. And
what do you say to your coalition whip when he sees a deputy minister going out and essentially trying to build opposition to a bill that the coalition and the government's supporting?
Well, look, this is a debate and a dispute that we have within the coalition. It's not just me. There's many more members.
As you yourself have just said.
And I'm honest about it, and they knew my position from the start. It's not something that they can change. And if a bill comes with the proper sections where I see that will give an answer to the needs of the IDF, the amount of people that they actually need, then I will vote in favor. But right now it goes the other direction.
Aliyah Minister Ophir Sofer said he'll oppose this bill even if Prime Minister Netanyahu fires him. Is that your view? Would you be willing to get fired?
Absolutely. I knew that I might need to pay many, and I will need to pay prices for it, and that's okay. I'm willing to do it because I truly believe that this is a danger for the security and for the future of my children here in this country.
Thank you so much, Sharren Hakel. Thank you so much for your time and for being with us.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure.